One of the things when you do have your steering committee together, it is important that you give them all the tools they need to succeed. And we have kind of a 1-2 punch. We have what we call an orientation meeting and an organizational meeting, and we kind of need the two to fully kind of lay the foundation for the complete training. And what I like to do is to have kind of a fun pop test, you know, and I kind of throw out how much are we raising, you know, and what are the components, and, you know, what's our timeline, and, you know, it's just fun to be able to quiz and kind of make sure that they're getting the important points and things like that. And then we have an entire section on how to ask, where we go through tax-wise ways of giving, not to make them legal scholars, but to at least raise their antenna as to, you know, some possibilities, so that if they bump into something and people are sensing this, volunteers are sensing that this is a person that may have some tax problems, well, we can get a resource to them to help them out. We can't serve as their attorney, but we can certainly offer, as an organization, some tax-wise ways of giving that has benefited the organization and the donor in the past. So, one thing we do is we don't shy away from role-playing on making the ask, and a lot of times it'll go something along the lines of, if I'm the solicitor, Gina, I know you love the school, and you have had a long history supporting our school. It's meant a lot to you, your children. I know you can see the importance of this campaign. You know, we're trying to raise $5 million to build this building, which will really help us gear shift our academic prowess into, you know, a new generation. So we're hoping that you would be willing to consider a gift of $25,000 over and above what you give year in, year out, total over 5 years. And it's going to be, if you look at this range of gift chart, you will see that we're going to need a number of gifts in this $25,000 range in order for us to be successful. So it may be that you want to give more, in which case we'd be thrilled. It may be because of other obligations that you're not able to give as much, and we'll understand. But you know, we're hoping that you will be willing to consider this gift amount. Now, Gina says something like, where did you get that number? There are times I've also heard, where in hell did you get that number? Seeing as I'm a theologian, I can speak that way. And we will say that number is based on your love for the school, your belief in the campaign, the needs of the campaign as you look at the range of gift chart, and your willingness to give. We may be off, and your ability to give. We may be off. We may be off. Anything you choose to give, you know, we'll just say grace over it and thank you for it, and everything's a help to this campaign.
So when he says, how do you know what I'm capable of giving? You go ahead and tell him, when we research your net worth, let you.
Well, the sophisticated donor
knows
that
you know, they know about our ways.
Yeah.
But we can say things like, well, it's based on your generosity in the past years to the school. We can come up with some kind of, you know, something that kind of will ease the suspicions, you know.
But you know, and if they ask straight out, then of course it's public information.
Yeah.
But at the same time, some people are a little weird about it.
Yeah. Really neat. The Campaign for Excellence. I love this theme and this theme development. There were this couple who were one of the original founders of this school, Stratford Academy in Macon, Georgia. Original founders, And it just seemed like, they were very generous folks, and it just seemed like every time they wanted to spring as a young couple for a new couch, the school needed some money, and they would donate the money, and they you know, forewent a couch for years before they were, you know, finally able to buy the couch that they wanted. And it was because of the sacrifice of their philanthropy and their love of the school. And so this was a school that was a noted school in Macon, but it had not had, their philanthropy had not blossomed because it was really kind of a school that was controlled by a star chamber. And there were a handful of people who were willing to float the boat. And this generation died, and they really needed to kind of spread their philanthropic base. And so they were kind of starting as, you know, neophytes in philanthropy. So we really liked this philanthropic story of sacrifice. And you will notice that this child is sitting on that couch that was sacrificed, you know, in its use for the campaign. And the couple, the original couple, is sitting on the couch they bought. And they used this couch for a tradition of excellence. They used the couch in the science lab. They used the couch in the classroom. They used the couch, you know, in the gym. And so everywhere there is that beautiful couch that is the thematic story thread through this whole piece. And it's both about the various breadth of reasons to give to the school, and it's about, it's a story of philanthropy. So I thought that this was wonderfully creative. You know. And again, you're not going to get that on the cheap, but it does, you know, it does put your best foot forward. And I do think you're going to make your money back. Oh, I want to talk about cultivation. Now, I'm an Episcopalian. It's hard for me to think of cultivation and not have alcohol. But, you know, I know it's going to be different for you folks, maybe, given your tradition, but the thing of it is that the thing that I do not like is to have a campaign and to run over a donor. I do not like that. I like to be able to structure enough time to inform the prospective donor collectively, maybe at an organization event, and then maybe have an intimate gathering in someone's home, and then have the one-on-one. But I just don't think, you know, that you do, or I think you leave a lot of money on the table, or you're apt to leave a lot of money on the table if you think, you know, one quick in and out is gonna do it. I just really don't think that that's gonna kind of build the buy-in you're gonna want your major gift office, your major giver to have. So, you know, you're gonna want to have not just a one-shot, first of all, have a cultivation event. Second of all, have more than one. You know, where there are different venues where you kind of get different stories and different messages and things like that. So, but what has worked for you and your organizations that you think has been a good way to cultivate? I love the word in Augusta. I got this phrase in Augusta, only in Augusta. Cultivation is when you tee people up. And I thought that only in the Gulf City, you know, would you get that kind of metaphor. How much time can or should a college president give to a capital campaign?
Much as they can.
A lot of them will tell you they spend 60 to 70% of their time on the campaign raising money. And the provost is left to run the academics. But, you know.
Not so much the case where a CEO of a hospital, that way.
They are spending more time in philanthropy, yes. They are spending, that's the skew of things. Because philanthropy, since margins are cut to nothing, that's where they're getting some, you know, some big hits. Yeah, yeah. So, you have the art of cultivation on page 49. You know, feasibility study is in fact a form of cultivation. CEO newsletters, special events, press releases, we've all talked about these things. But, you know, when you have an open house, or when you are at an intimate, someone's personal home, have the program. You know, you got to make sure that the program is scripted and that the speakers know what points they need to have. Here's the other thing, and I don't want to make light of this, or, you know, because I'm speaking seriously. I'm very direct with steering committee members. It is up to you, steering committee, to make sure that our invited prospective donors are having a good time. If you see somebody not mixing, you go over there. You are there to make sure you are working. You know, you're not a spectator. This is a, you know, you are there for the campaign, working on behalf of the campaign. Make sure everybody has a good time. And another thing I say is, too, we are not letting anybody go driving home who shouldn't be driving or anything like that. We need to make sure that this you know, event does not have anything sad attached to it at all, you know. So we're having to be our brothers and sisters' keeper, you know. So just make sure that this event is up to the steering committee to make sure this event is a successful event and a meaningful and memorable event. So I kind of put the screws on the steering committee members to say, this is your deal, you know. So. Now, I want to spend just a couple of minutes on the proposal. Typically, you raise money from the inside out. Your board, your staff, your alums, your lead, and the top donor, lead gift donors, broad-based donors. And typically, now, your lead gift donor may be a member of a family foundation, so you may get some foundation grants through a family foundation. But typically, when you go to foundations, it is more along the lines of the public phase of the campaign. And you're asking foundations who may not have a close connection with an organization, you're going to them saying, listen, we have this great campaign. We've done it by the numbers. We've had professional counsel, and we have 100% board and staff participation. We have all these, you know, this high number of faculty and staff. We have this high number of alumni giving, and we have this high number of parent participation, or however you want to do it. And what we're hoping you will do, foundation, is give us enough money to help us go over goal. We've already raised 70–80%, but we're going to you for the, it's kind of the icing on the cake type of a gift to help us go over goal. And typically it's only because you did everything right that the foundations would be willing to give to you. And if you haven't done everything right, they'll probably tell you the things that need to be done before they'll give a gift. So just be ready for that. How do you calibrate an ask amount for a foundation? Where would you go to get the information that could give you a sense of how much is given?
Ask them what previous ranges have been.
You can ask, yeah.
Google it.
Google their $9.90 and see how much they give a year, see how many people they give to, do the math, and then there'll be a delineation of how much they gave in this calendar year through the 9/90. But be not dismayed, be not fooled. They gave $50,000 to an organization like yours, don't think, well, they give $50,000 to donations like organizations like ours, and so we'll ask them for $50,000. Because that $50,000 that's registered in that 990 for 1 year may just be installment 2 of a 5-year pledge. So it may be, you need to look a little forward and a little backward
Yeah.
on, for the ask amount of a foundation, okay? Okay. So, but I love to get foundation gifts because in some ways that is a good housekeeping seal of approval for your campaign. Because they're
And
not
it's interesting that you can't, from what you're saying, we shouldn't really ask them until towards the end.
Unless you have a member of your steering committee or lead gift who you're soliciting them for a gift from their family foundation.
Yeah.
But is the Woodruff, here in town, is Woodruff, is Campbell and Toll? No, you don't go to them first.
Oh,
You go
yeah.
to them last.
Right.
But what I would add to that is when you can get the board members of these foundations, put those names in front of your board, your
Yes.
steering committee, and see who they know. Because that would help a lot, and that'd be good to know sooner than later.
Great idea. People give to people. People give to people. So, okay. What to do with an annual fund? Typically, in this day and time, you keep the ritual of the annual fund. Annual giving is kind of like, it has a ritual. It's like a breath of life. It's like organizations do it in an organic, natural way. And you really don't want to interrupt that life cycle of an annual giving. It used to be, and a lot of organizations would subsume or hold off annual giving while they do the campaign. In this day and age, you just keep on with annual giving. You're asking for gifts over and above their annual gift to go to the capital campaign. That's typically the way it's done. And it used to be, when I was first starting, that we had to spend a lot of time explaining the difference between annual giving that goes to operations that helps an organization go, and capital giving that goes to special projects that helps an organization grow. You have to. We can spend less time with that now because more people are familiar with that distinction. The one thing that that we are doing now is, in the life of a capital campaign, the official term is a blended ask, but we are doing a double ask, and in some ways it's a triple ask. We're asking over and above what you give annually. We need to keep that going. We want you to give to the capital campaign. And a new normal developed during the recession because we trained volunteers to go out and ask for a gift to the capital campaign. And a lot of times they would come back and say, our volunteers would say, okay, Rob, Gina, this is what we're hearing. The prospective donor is saying, we know you, we love you, we would want to give to you, but our portfolio is half of what it was last year. And we just don't have the money to give. So they came back and we said, they said, what do we say, to people who tell us that? And we just trained them to say, we hear you. You know us. You love us. You would want to give to us, but because of the recession, that's not good timing right now. We trained them to say, is there anything you can do to support our organization through this campaign? Is there anything you can do for us that won't cost you any money now? Can you leave us? Can you leave a legacy gift? Can you leave us in your will? And we were shocked at how many people said, I've been thinking about this, for a long time, and I do know you, and I love you, and I can't give, but, that is something I can do. I will use the occasion of our visit and the occasion of this campaign to put you in the will. And our identified expectancies went up the roof. And so what we have here, this was the Cathedrals campaign in Jackson. And even though this was past the recession, we have stacked giving, you know, tiered giving, annual campaign, capital campaign, legacy gift. You know, we have a loaded docket right here, and we're ready to secure any and all gifts, and we're making a triple ask. And the other thing is, and I think Gina's already referenced this, when you have a trained steering committee member in front of a prospect, that opportunity is pregnant with possibility, and we don't want to leave any money on the table. By definition, by metric, there are on average 7 exchanges before that steering committee member finally sits in front of that major gift donor. There are 7 exchanges, either via an email or leaving a phone mail message, you know, and you're going back and forth, you're texting back and forth. There's usually a cancellation in there some way. And typically there are about 7 exchanges between the volunteer and the donor to get that meeting. And you just can't be slipshod, cavalier. You got to go in with the steering committee member being focused and grabbing all that they can. And just so you know, that they don't just ask in this day and age. In our campaigns, we're training them to not just ask for the legacy gift if they swing and miss on the capital campaign. It may be that they're given to the capital campaign, and on top of that gift, go ahead and ask them for a legacy gift. You're given to this building. It may also be you want to give through legacy giving to give money to the endowment fund for maintenance for this building. So they'll have some perpetuity, you know, in that giving money to the building. So anyway, that's kind of gives you a sense of how things have developed over time, just within my career, from struggling to get people to understand the difference between annual giving and capital giving, all the way over to post-recession. You know, we're going and blowing on the triple ask, and just makes you love America. You know.
Have you seen the trend? I guess companies or organizations now are combining all of their needs and having a huge capital campaign.
Comprehensive campaign.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is you know, the whole ball of wax is in there, and there's a little something for everybody.
Yeah.
Is that dangerous?
Typically, when you get into the larger campaigns, like every $1 billion campaign, it's all in. $210 million for Orlando Health System, it was all in. And we counted everything, including the kitchen sink, you know. And hey, we got 210 and we're better for it.
Celebrate.
Yeah.